Everybody come on in. I'm glad to see you all. We're going to talk a little bit about groundhogs. So we'll go ahead and some of our friends come on and then we'll get started, okay? I have a really cool book for you.
You're going to be very quiet to hear it.
Uh-huh.
We'll get started here in a minute, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we're going to wait, like I said, just a few minutes. I want you to raise your hand if did you watch the video about the groundhog yet this morning? Raise your hand if you watched Punxsutawney Phil. Well, some of my friends know who he is. We're going to find out what he says. Okay? We'll find out in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, my friends, is I'm going to put us on mute so everyone can hear our video or our book, excuse me, okay? So, go ahead and we'll put you on mute for right now, okay? So that way we can get started and we can talk a little bit about Groundhog's Day, okay? So February 2nd is always Groundhog's Day. It's kind of an informal holiday, okay? And so what happens is there's this very special groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil, and he lives in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and he is supposed to predict the weather. And he is supposed to tell us whether we're supposed to have more winter or more summer. So I have this really cool book that we're going to read, and it's called The Night Before Groundhog Day. Okay? So we'll read this book. We'll explore groundhogs a little bit more. And then for those of you that maybe didn't see Punxsutawney Phil do his prediction, we'll watch that, okay? And we'll see if he's right or not, okay? Sound like a plan? Thumbs up. Okay, here we go. Let's read The Night Before Groundhog Day. All right, and this is by Natasha Wings. Okay, here we go. So here's the cute little groundhog. Isn't he cute? Okay, here we go. 'Twas the night before Groundhog Day, and all through our town, everyone was waiting for tomorrow's countdown. Because in the morning, when we all come together, a groundhog will wake and forecast the weather. It's a bright and sunny day. He'll see his shadow, he'll see. That means 6 more weeks of winter there'll be. But if it's cloudy and gray, his shadow won't appear. That's what I'm hoping for. That means spring will be here. So if it's sunny and he sees his shadow, we have 6 more weeks of winter. And if it's cloudy, then that means spring's coming. Who likes winter? Raise your hand if you like winter. Raise your hand if you like spring. Raise your hand if you like all seasons. All right, here we go. At our school, we did crafts and art class. We made groundhog masks. Mine had a bow tie and glasses. We made pop-up puppets with flat sticks and cups. We learned about baby groundhogs are called cubs, kits, or pups. Did you know that? A baby groundhog can be called a cub, a kit, or a pup. What else is called a pup? Can you think of another animal? All right. We studied our climate plus the 4 seasons. The weather changes for all kinds of reasons. Then we all voted on the news of the groundhog would bring. Everyone but one boy said there would be an early spring. So, who thinks that there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter? Raise your hand. Who thinks there's going to be spring is coming early? Oh boy, we got like 50-50 there. So, I like winter, said Paul. I'm crazy for snow. Not me, I told him. This cold weather's got to go. After dinner, we baked special cupcakes. I added frosting and coconut flakes. Look at that. It's a little groundhog. Groundhog cupcake. We hung our wool hats on hooks with great care. We'll be ready to celebrate the foul weather or fair. So bad weather or good weather, they're ready. Look at this. This is silly. That night I burrowed all snug in my bed while visions of groundhogs danced in my head. Has anybody dreamed of groundhogs before? Look at those groundhogs with the top hat dancing around in her dreams. Oh my goodness, that's silly. This is what it looked like for Puxatawny Phil. It's early in the morning, at last, Groundhog Day. It's not sunny at all, but will the clouds stay? My family bundles up and heads to town square, where a crowd's already gathering. There's music in the air. Look at this. The band starts playing a groundhog song. When it comes to the chorus, the crowd sings along. I look up at the sky. Oh no, the sun's coming out. Come back, clouds, I beg with a shout. Excuse me, says a news reporter. What's your prediction? Spring, no winter. He reports we have a contradiction.
YouTube.
Big word.
Something is going on with you guys.
Yeah. Grown-ups with top hats soon appear on stage.
What's going on with you kids, YouTube?
The mayor reads a proclamation from a fancy scrolled page. Then we all begin counting backwards from 10 while a groundhog pops out of his den. The crowd loudly chants, "Wake up from your nap." The mayor waves her cane and gives the den a good tap. When what to our eyes should appear at last but the official predictor to make his forecast. His eyes so sleepy, his cheeks so round, he finally climbs out from under the ground. Does he see his shadow? The world wants to know, will there be spring or 6 weeks of snow? That was our book, The Night Before Groundhog Day. That was pretty cool, huh? So, let's look. I want to share something with you. I want to look at what a groundhog looks like. Let's see. All righty. Can you see my groundhog here on the screen? All right. So this is what a groundhog looks like. He's like a bigger version of a mouse. He's a rodent. And they like to come out and eat lots of things. Some people maybe call them a woodchuck. Okay. There's lots of different types of groundhogs out there. But what happens is, like in the book, every February 2nd, Puxatawny Phil comes out and he forecasts the weather. If he sees his shadow, there are 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't see his shadow, that means spring is coming. Okay? And they have this big celebration where he lives in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania. And he gets out and he makes a weather prediction. Would you like to see what Puxatawny Phil predicted this year for the weather? Let's look. Here we go. We're going to try to watch our video here. Maybe. Here we go. Let's watch him.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Now, this second day of February 2021, the 135th annual trek of Punxsutawney Groundhog Club. Punxsutawney Phil, the seer of seers, the prognosticator of all prognosticators, was awakened from his burrow at 7:25 a.m. by his handler and friend on this quiet morning where few can attend. In Groundhog Phil directed the president and the inner circle to his prediction scroll that reads, "It's a beautiful morning, this I can see, with all my fans viewing virtually. My faithful followers being safe and secure, our tradition of Groundhog Day must endure. We have all passed through the darkness of night, but now see hope in morning's bright light. But now, when I turn to see, there's a perfect shadow cast of me. 6 more weeks of winter there will be."
Oh my. Who's excited for 6 more weeks of winter? Raise your hand if you're excited for 6 more weeks of winter. How many of you are sad that spring's not coming early? Right. So Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog, he comes out, and if he sees his shadow, oh man, that means winter's coming. And apparently, Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow on this snowy, overcast morning in Pennsylvania. Okay. How do you think that groundhogs are very good at predicting the weather? Thumbs up if you think a groundhog is very good, or thumbs down if you think maybe he doesn't know. I have some of both. We'll have to wait and see this year, because Punxsutawney Phil is sometimes right and sometimes he's way off. So we'll have to wait this year whether he was correct in predicting 6 more weeks of winter. So we talked about Groundhog's Day, right? And we talked about how maybe the groundhog predicts weather. Are there other ways that we can predict the weather? If you wanted to share with us, you could unmute yourselves if you want. But I want to know how you think we would predict the weather. One example to predict the weather is using our lovely groundhog here. But what are some other ways we can use to figure out what the weather's going to be like? What do we think? Anybody got any ideas on how we might?
We could just use the weatherman.
Okay, so we could use weather people, right? Yeah, they get on the TV sometimes and they look at different things. What other ideas do we have?
Josie's got an idea here.
Okay, what's your idea?
So, sky.
We look at the sky, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes, that's a really good idea. So we would go outside and we'd look at the sky. What other ideas do my friends have?
Can you raise your hand?
What do you think?
I think we should go outside and look at if we can see a melt or not a melt.
All right, so we'll go outside and look. Yeah. So, did any of my other friends have any ideas how we might predict the weather?
Rowan's got an idea.
Okay, go for it. What's your idea?
We can look east at the sun.
Okay, we'd look at the sun.
He said we could look east to see if the sun's coming up.
Wow, that's very good observation. So we would look in the east. I like how you used your direction. I'm not very good with directions at all. So that was a very good idea.
Thanks.
other ideas, my friend? What do we think?
On the fire.
Rosie has an idea.
Okay, what's your idea? How would we predict the weather?
We could see how warm or cold it is, and if it's cold, then it might be winter.
Oh, so we're going to use the temperature outside, whether it's warm or cold, and that could help us figure out what the weather might be doing? Yeah, good job. I like all these ideas that we're having. I like that you're sharing them all so politely with us. Yeah. What do you think? Do I have some more friends that want to share? I don't want to.
Jace would like to share.
Okay, what do you want to share with us?
Don't come out at cloudy.
Yeah.
Cloudy or not.
You can see if it's cloudy. Oh, so you would use clouds? Oh, so I've heard that we would look for the sun. I've heard that we would use the temperature. I've heard that we would look for clouds. Oh my, these are all good ways to predict or figure out what the weather's going to be.
You can, I don't know how to do it. Look at trees.
Trees? Oh my, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea. What would I look at the trees for?
If they have green leaves or not.
All right, so I like all the ideas that we were coming up with, my friends. We had the sun, we had trees, we had temperature, we had clouds, we had relying on the weather person to predict for us. Those are all really good ways to predict the weather, isn't it? Yeah. So, and we have a groundhog. Our groundhog could maybe predict the weather. So, you know what we could do? We could track whether Puxatawny Phil was correct. So maybe we could look at the temperature for 6 more weeks. Maybe we could look at the sun for 6 more weeks. Well, don't look right at the sun, but you get the idea. For the sun. There we go. Maybe we could look for clouds, and maybe we can track what the weather's doing to see if Puxatawny Phil is right in his prediction this year that there will be 6 more weeks of winter. Does anybody know when the first day of spring is? It's about in a month. When's the first day of spring? Does anybody know?
Okay. Abby Stanley, you want to tell us when spring is?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of March.
Yeah, it's towards the end of March. March 20th is supposed to be the first day of spring. Now, sometimes out here in western Nebraska, we still have snow and winter temperatures after March 20th, but that's supposed to be when the first day of spring is. So we'll wait and see if Puxatawny Phil was right on his prediction or if he's wrong. Okay? Can you track the weather where you live? Maybe for maybe the next week, and then maybe next week we can touch base and see where we're at. Okay? All right, my friends, do you have any questions about Groundhog's Day? Or is there's some things you wanted to know about this crazy semi-holiday that we're celebrating today?
Do you have anything that shows what they sound like?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me look. That's a good question. I don't know what a groundhog sounds like. I'm excited to hear the answer to this question. Oh, you know what else sometimes they call them? Whistling pigs. All right, let's see. Hopefully this one's not too scary. Are you ready?
Do it again.
That's so crazy. I was not expecting him to sound like that. Were you? Who thought he was going to sound like that? Oh my goodness, that's a cool sound. That was a really good question. Thanks for asking. Who else has a question?
Okay. We have a question. Augie has a question.
Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
Like, how did this crazy holiday start?
Yeah, this started a long, long time ago, well before you and I were born. Okay, so this started back in the 1800s, and people traveled over from I think it was Pennsylvania Dutch brought it over. So this is too much information for my crowd, but they brought this crazy holiday over with them, and it's just been a tradition that they've been doing ever since. So they've had, they used badgers over there. But when they came here, they got a groundhog, and it's just been a celebration ever since. So in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, they've been doing this for, I think he said 135 years. So this crazy celebration is just something that families would do over there. Do any of your families have a weird tradition? Something that they do every year? No. So that's just kind of what it started. They had it over where they used to live, and when they came over to the United States, they brought it with them. Good question. What other questions do you have?
Cohen has a question.
I don't.
Okay.
How do they eat?
How do they eat? Well, they have big teeth like a mouse, and they like that. They like to eat lots of plants. They're going to eat other roots and things like that. So they have big chomping teeth, and they just eat like that. I don't think they make as cool a sound as what I did, but I mean, that's how they eat, and that's what they eat. So that's a really good question. Thanks for asking.
Is there of a ground?
All right, one more time. Let's see.
I think he was asking the same question as Carolyn.
Okay.
They want to know what they eat.
Okay. Yeah. So they're going to eat lots of different things. I'm going to make sure I'm telling you correctly. They like to eat plants. Okay. They also like to eat bugs and snails. Oh, and sometimes they'll even eat a little mouse or something. That sounds weird, doesn't it? So that's what they like to eat. All sorts of different things, usually plants, and bugs is what they like to eat.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, ask her.
I just want to do.
You can ask her. She's listening.
Other hedgehogs in Nebraska.
Are there groundhogs that live in Nebraska? Is that what you wanted to know? Or hedgehogs?
Hedgehogs.
You mean groundhogs?
Are there groundhogs in Nebraska?
Yeah, good question. We have woodchucks in Nebraska, and they're similar. That's a lot of biology. There's like 9 different types of groundhogs or marmots and things like that. So we have woodchucks that live here in Nebraska. Good question. Okay, we have time for just a couple more.
All right, Margaret Marquise has a question. Go ahead up there,
How
Margaret.
many eggs do groundhogs lay?
Ooh, do they lay
Okay.
eggs?
Yeah, that's a good question. So groundhogs are mammals. So they have hair, and they give their young milk. Okay. And they have a backbone. Okay. Groundhog. That's a good question. Let me look it up. Let's look it up together. Oh, it says they can have anywhere from 3 to 5 babies. And they're called, does anybody remember what they were called in our book? What a baby groundhog is called? Anybody remember? Yeah? Should we say it on the count of 3 together? Ready? 1, 2, 3. A pup. Yeah, good job. So they have pups. Yep. And they normally have about 3 to 5 at the most, 2 to 4, depending. So how much food there is and everything like that. That was a really good question. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Ella has a question.
All right. What's your question?
What do you want to know, Ella?
How long can they live?
Yeah, I saw that they can live anywhere from 3 to 6 years. So, maybe depends on how safe they are or how much they're getting to eat or different things like that. But up to 6 years old. But Puxatawny Phil is really old. He's had a really good life. So the one that we saw on our video today, he's like 135 years old. So he's one of the longest lived groundhogs that are out there. So good question. Thanks for asking it. All right, my friends, those were all really good questions. And I'm glad that you joined us on this Groundhogs Day to talk a little bit more about groundhogs, okay? So you will have to join us next week when Monica is going to be talking about something really cool.
Seeds. We're going to talk about seeds.
Seeds. All right. So, my friends, thanks for joining us here on Nature Tales, and I hope to see you all again next week. Okay? Have a good week and track that weather, okay? We'll see if the groundhog was correct. Bye.